Hello and welcome to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast. You are joined by your usual hosts here. We've got Tom Mannering.
Hello.
And myself, Josh Hartley. How are we doing this week, Tom?
I'm doing well, Josh. Thank you very much. How are you?
Yes, not bad, thank you. Not bad. Not much to report, really. It's been... Other than I had your the Star Wars game that you run on Tuesday night. That's continuing to be fun. It's great playing a sassy little Droid. Although we had a moment of...
I forgot about the droid on droid combat.
No, I wasn't referring to that. So,
okay.
Sorry, listeners. The session culminated in Duel of the Fates. It was my astromech droid versus an Imperial astromech droid.
two arc welders at dawn.
Yeah,
spinning round,
barely doing any damage to each other.
Yeah, it was funny, in a very anticlimactic way.
The funny thing was, so the mechanics of the Fantasy Flight Star Wars RPG means that your allies can give you buffs if they roll particularly well with their roll. So it resulted in like everyone else in the party just giving me bonus dice just to try and finish this astromech off, and it was just like, guys, could one of you just come in and kill it, please?
The thing was, like, there were these big fights going... The way I envisioned it was, like, the two astromech droids were in the middle of the bridge, and then there's these big fights going on around them, and, like, the two astromech droids are just sort of circling each other. It's a bit like the start of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where Baby Groot's kind of dancing,
yes,
and in the background you've got this, like, epic combat kind of going on. That's basically what was going on. And then they're kind of like, the party was so invested in you winning this 1v1 astromech fight that they were giving all of their resources to you, and it still wasn't helping much.
No, I am not. I'm not built for combat, and that's fine. I knew that when I was creating R3. It's like, I am going to be shit hot at, like, computers, mechanics, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be a chocolate teapot when it comes to combat. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm at peace with that. We've got guys who are good in a fight, so that's okay.
And that's totally fair, right? Like, to have that bit of balance. But I think it was funny that, like, they'd finished off everybody else in the fight, and they were literally like, no, don't intervene. It's his
stood in a
fight.
circle around these two droids.
No. You had to ask them to, like, step in, because it would have taken probably several sessions.
Yeah, absolutely forever. No, the bit that makes me laugh was we had to. So the ship that we're on is being massively damaged by an internal threat. And one of the first things we did was go to life support to get that repaired, which I was able to locate the 3 points where it needed repairing. And again, like I said, my character R3 is great at computers and great at mechanics. So I was like, all right, yeah, some mechanics checks for R3 to complete. These points are in a crawl space, and I'm playing an astromech droid. So there's this moment where we were trying to get my droid around the first corner, and he couldn't manage it. And then we tried to send the Wookiee in, and he couldn't manage it either.
Stuck.
Yeah,
like Winnie the Pooh.
Like the Winnie the Pooh. Yeah. So we kind of had to send our combat specialist, Ryan's character Cal, went in with not that much training in mechanics, and I was there over the radio just aiding him, basically, just going, you got to do this, da 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 da. And then, of course, a squad of droids rock up while our guy who's super good in combat is in the crawl space. So that was fun. But we overcame all of that.
You did. I mean, you guys are bossing it, really. Like, you've had Dave's new Wookiee character took a blaster bolt to the knee, at point blank range, which is kind of the first big injury you've had in this this module that we're doing. But you guys have been fairly stomping some droids, albeit protocol droids and astromech droids for the most part, but still,
yeah,
you've been putting the hurt on them, which has been fun to watch. Because the last game we had, the last story arc, you guys obviously took a kick in and had to kind of run away with your tail between your legs. So it's nice for the party to kind of have a chance to come out swinging and get a bit of.
I mean, see, when you're devising these arcs, is that something that's maybe in the back of your mind? Because it's great to have like challenging scenarios, but I do enjoy, after having one of those, particularly when it hasn't gone well, going a bit easy and just feeling like we're kicking ass again.
Yeah, it was kind of a little bit of that. So I kind of have a general map of... So I run, for most of my games, I either run pre-written campaigns or I'll take modules from different sources and kind of knit them together into a campaign. And our Star Wars game is sort of episodic, but much like Star Wars, funnily enough. So I kind of have ideas for ones that I'm going to run. And the one you're running is one that I was like, I do want to run this at some point. I hadn't really decided when I was going to run it.
Sure.
And then after the last module, you guys had taken a beating. And the other thing was you had been written out of kind of half of it because R3 had to go off planet to escape the Imperials. So I thought I kind of want to have a session that's going to be a bit more Josh-centric, R3-centric, to give you a bit of time to kind of shine. And I
loads of computer checks.
Yeah, I thought this has got a lot of stuff to do with like repairing a ship and mechanics, and it's got droids as like the main antagonist, so that's kind of a fun sort of juxtaposition to R3, who's obviously a very devout rebellion droid because of his second personality. And I think R3 is probably, leaning more towards the rebellion as well as a result of the party's actions.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought it'd be a nice session to not only feature R3 as kind of one of the main characters of this arc, but also because it's actually from one of the more beginner-centric supplements. It's actually from the modules from the Age of Rebellion GM screen.
Right.
I thought that's actually going to be quite an easy one. So it'll be a nice sort of palette cleanser, let you guys kind of come out swinging, and it's got a different kind of focus to the other sessions that we've kind of played as well. So that was kind of in the back of my mind. I was like, I don't really want to go into another big story because Assault on Order 1 that we were doing previously is a big, it's a book in itself.
Yeah.
It's a 3-part narrative, whereas Dead in the Water that we're doing now, technically, I think is 2 or 3 parts, but they're much shorter. It's more a pamphlet than a book.
Yeah.
But a booklet probably is something closer to what it is. So yeah, I think that was definitely in the back of my mind.
Yeah, neat. So no, I've had that. I think that's the only real gaming I've been doing. I've been playing a lot of Total War Warhammer.
Still deep into that.
Oh man, I'm not playing the new one though. I'm playing the second one right now because the new one, they haven't launched what they're calling Immortal Empires. That's when they're going to bring all of the existing factions into the new game.
Right. Okay.
It's so the factions that you can play in number 3 are Ogres, Kislev, Cathay, the 4 Chaos Gods, and Chaos Undivided.
Right.
And I don't really want to play any of those guys. Like,
no?
What I would have definitely been all over if they were included as a race would have been Chaos Dwarfs.
Sure.
And they're heavily rumoured that they're going to be coming as a DLC at some point.
Makes sense.
But no, I've been finishing playing a campaign as your favourite douchebags and mine, the High Elves.
Oh god. So, it's funny actually. I have a lot of the army books from 8th edition Warhammer.
Yeah,
I collected them because
this was when they went to hardback, wasn't it? They're really nice,
really nice books. And I didn't get all of them, but I got a good number of them. And I think I mentioned on previous episodes, I've been doing a lot of selling stuff on eBay. And I was like, am I going to sell these? And I was kind of looking through them as to whether or not I was going to sell them. And I got to the high elf one, and I was like, man, I remember how busted Swordmasters of Oath were in this edition.
Yeah, jeez, yeah, they're that in the video game as well.
Yeah.
So I was playing as Tyrion, but I eventually got Teclis confederated into my... Teclis is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah,
he's a one-man army.
They were a beast of a force. I remember playing against them when I dabbled, and you really struggled against high elves. They were, if memory serves, they were solid for the majority of the meta of 8th edition.
The big thing they had going for them was, if I remember correctly, everything they had always strikes first.
Even if you've got a heavy weapon and things like that.
Yeah, so when when the enemy is always hitting you first, it's very difficult to overcome that. Yeah. I mean, people complain about power creep in like Age of Sigmar and 40k at the moment. Power creep was so bad in 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy. It was one of those editions, and this is often the case, but I think it was really evident in 8th edition of Warhammer. If you had the newer book, you had a leg up. Mm-hmm. Like, unquestionably. And if you had an old book, like, woe betide you if you had a previous edition's. Oh yeah, those poor Bretonian players.
Yeah, you were buggered. Like, there was no chance in hell. I think the saddest thing for me about the shift from 8th edition to Age of Sigmar is in 8th edition, Tomb King's got a bit of a like update. They got they got a nice book, they got some new models and that. And then in Age of Sigmar, they kind of got shelved pretty much.
Yeah.
And I loved the Tomb King fluff. Like, I don't...
Oh, they're fantastic. Funnily enough, I started a new campaign this morning as the Tomb Kings.
There you go.
So there we are.
Do you start in like desert places if you play as them? Oh, that's good.
So you start in... I'm playing as Cetra.
Is it Necroarch or something they're from? I can't remember.
Yeah, so I'm playing in the desert of Arabe, basically. So I'm still in the very early stages of the campaign. So
I mean, I have a soft spot anyway for sort of Egyptian undead, like your mummies and things like that, and even like your sphinxes and I don't know, skeletons in the desert just always kind of appealed to me. Our first crossover we ever did was pretty much that, because it's an aesthetic I love, like pharaohs and mummies and all that kind of stuff. So Tomb Kings,
Brendan Fraser, about that.
Brendan Fraser's like first 2 mummy films are flawed masterpieces in my opinion.
No, they're great fun.
Yeah, they're great fun. The third one is not so great.
I didn't even know there was a third one. Jeez.
Yeah, Tomb of the Dragon God or Emperor Dragon or something like that. I can't remember. I nearly said Tomb of the God Emperor, but I really hope that's not what it is. No. It's basically, I think it's like Japanese or Chinese mummies, if memory serves, and I'm sorry if I'm getting that wrong if somebody's an aficionado, but like it's got what's his name, really prominent Asian actor at the time, but I can't think of the guy's name. Anyway, it's got a really big name in it, and they go to like I think it's like the Himalayas or something like that. It's a weird film, but it's not great, but I still kind of like it because it's Brendan Fraser and mummies. I might need to go and watch those after this.
Glad I could be of service.
Yeah, appreciate it. So yeah, I love that aesthetic. And when I was looking at what list I was going to do in 8th edition, because that was when I got into Warhammer Fantasy, so a bit late in the game. Actually, no, I got in just on the tail end of 7th because I was looking at either Tomb Kings or Dwarves. Those were my 2 sort of top contenders, and I went for Dwarves in the end. And I kind of regret not doing Tomb Kings because they kind of disappeared, and it would have been nice to kind of do them, but at the same time, at least I can still use some of my Dwarves. So that's a perk, I suppose.
Well, to be fair, I dare say that Tomb Kings is probably going to be one of the factions that they're going to revisit in the old world when that comes out like next year.
I would hope so. That'd be cool.
Like they're probably. My bet is that they're going to touch on a lot of the factions that they didn't touch in on the tabletop, but they have been done in the video games. So Kislev, Cathay, get Britonia back, get Tomb Kings back.
Yeah.
Vampire Pirates as well. We might see the Pirates of Sartosa. That'll be cool. I'd love to see Dogs of War back as well. They were so neat.
I can't believe they kind of let Dogs of War slip. They were so interesting, like in the narrative, and as units as well. They just looked so fun. You know, you had the one of my favourite ones was the halflings, the halfling chefs.
Yes.
And the flying machine one as well was a weird one, like the guys who had like the wings.
Yeah, the birdmen of Modigliano.
Yeah, they were quite fun. I love that kind of stuff. I love the old world. Like I'm sorry if you're an Age of Sigmar fan, but it's just not as good as the old world. Like it's not as fun. It's not as cool. Yes, it's a bit more high fantasy, but there's just something about the old world that was just charming that the Age of Sigmar just never had for me in the same way. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with old world. That'll be good.
Well, that was a tangent and a half we went off on. Shall we talk about some of the things that we said we were going to discuss in this podcast before we hit record?
No, let's keep it on the tangent. Yeah, go ahead.
So, a brief one just to start off with, which I just thought was interesting. Paizo have announced some new leadership team members. Paizo, of course, being the publishers behind Pathfinder and Starfinder. They have promoted Maggie Gallagher and Rai Kong to the team. I am going to read directly from the announcement. So, Maggie Gallagher and Rai Kong have been promoted to the leadership team. Both have also received promotions in line with that responsibility. Rai Kong is now Vice President of Technology, and Maggie Gallagher is now Vice President of People and Culture, both reporting directly to Paizo's president. Quote, I have worked closely with Maggie and Rai during their time here at Paizo, and I'm excited to add their expertise and vision as we lead Paizo into its third decade of gaming, said Jim Butler, Paizo president. Maggie Gallagher joined Paizo in January 2022, so a very recent addition to the team, with over 20 years of HR experience and diversity, equity, and inclusion expertise. She has served as an instructor, volunteer, and presenter for several LGBTQ+ organisations. Most recently, she has focused on groups and organisations that actively advocate for the rights of transgender individuals. Quote, I'm excited to join the leadership team and to participate in the strategic direction of the company, said Maggie Gallagher.
So I think this is obviously a great move by Paizo. They've had some, let's say some bad press in regards to the diversity and inclusion elements, and how much of that is true we don't know. But from where there's smoke, there's fire, right? And this certainly seems to speak to that as well. That they're taking the right steps to course correct and do the right thing for different representation across Paizo. So I think that's really, really positive, and kudos to both Maggie and Rai for getting those positions. On a slightly more cynical note, and this isn't necessarily directed at this specifically, the quotes, and this is something you see so often in sort of public press releases, if you will, or blog posts, as this is for these kinds of things. They're quotes from people that are so painfully generic. I'm just like, what's the point, right? So like the quote is like, I've worked with them for a while. I'm looking forward to seeing what they'll do here. Yeah, duh. Like you wouldn't have promoted them, and even like Maggie and Rai's comments. And again, it's not their fault. I'm sure they were probably asked for a comment, and this is just what it is. But it's like, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to do my job here. Like, do we need this? Like, and this isn't directed at Paizo. So many companies do this.
Yeah, this is,
and it's so pointless.
I like a little inside baseball here, and I don't think I've never named my employer on this podcast, and that's definitely going to continue because I got asked for a quote for them to publish about us adopting flexible working and working from home, which is great, by the way. It's one of the biggest benefits of working for who I work for. Mm-hmm. But I gave them a quote. And when the press release came out, it was changed to be more like this sort of stuff. And I'm like, great. Well, that was a pointless exercise.
I would have kicked up on that. I would have been like, that's not my quote. You can't put my name to that. Yeah. That's not what I said.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. Do people get assured by hearing these stock phrases from people? Like, this is great news, right? And I don't want to detract from that.
Yeah.
This is just a tangential observation, as we all want to do.
As normal, we've acknowledged the main thing, but we're going to talk about this little side thing.
Like, if your quote is not, memorable or unique in some fashion, don't bother. Like, we know you're happy to be there.
See, for a press release like this, then, you wouldn't have any quotes.
I wouldn't have any quotes. Or I'd put, like, both... So say, using this one as an exact example, right? I would have... My comment on it would be... we've spoke to both Maggie and Rai, or we've had comments from both Maggie and Rai, and they've both commented on how excited they are about these positions. Something like that.
How do I know that they've said that? Because
how do you know that they've said that? You've literally just said that your quote was changed. So it really doesn't matter. I'm dying. It's so generic. See if it was like, a Martin Luther King style epic speech. Yeah, fire in. I'd love to see something like that. But when it's just generic business talk, that of course you're going to say you're happy with your promotion. Of course you're going to say you're looking forward to what you're going to do there. If the quote was, I fucking hate this place, I can't believe they've promoted me, I'd be like, put that in, fire that. I want to see that. I want to see that quote.
My thought was actually, it was, we promoted such and such because they're really good at their job. Personally, I think they're a bit of a dick. But,
these are the kinds of things that I want to see. Surprise me a bit. Don't just hit me with generic business lines. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is, this is great news, right? For Paizo, especially in regards to Maggie's position. Not to take away from Rai Kong, because I'm sure they've worked very hard for their promotion as well. And genuinely psyched for you guys. That's awesome. I hope you make Paizo a better place. But let's just drop the pointless quote, shall we, guys?
Shall we move on?
Go on then. You twisted my arm.
I thought this was an interesting. It's a bit of news in of itself, but could be an interesting little springboard into a topic of conversation.
Because we need those.
Yeah. So a recent Kickstarter has been announced. This is Tsuro Luxury Limited Edition. Now, Tsuro, for those who are not aware, is it's a game that's been out for a while now. 2005 was when it was originally released. Very, very popular. Look it up. It's I've played it a few times. It's good fun. They have launched a Kickstarter for as the title says, emphasis on the word luxury here, because it is very fancy, or very fancy looking anyway. The base pledge is $350.
It's about £284.
That's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a thing that's been in the hobby for a while, these sort of limited edition luxury items. I'm thinking of, to a lesser degree, I know that Games Workshop do limited edition codices with like alternate art.
We get it with like everything, like D&D do collector's edition books, Magic do collector's edition sets.
Magic does more collector's edition stuff than regular stuff now, it feels like.
I feel like collector's edition board games are a little less common. They do exist.
A little less, yeah.
But you don't see it quite as often where you'll get kind of you'll maybe get like a Kickstarter where you get expanded stuff, but it doesn't necessarily change the core box of the game, But this is very much a luxury edition of
yeah, I mean, it is in... one thing to point out, I don't doubt that it's actually worth this $350 because it's in a carved wooden box for a start. They've got like solid metal pieces for the gaming pieces. The tiles.
Well, the rules are on like a proper scroll, like a proper,
scroll of bamboo.
Yeah, bamboo scroll. Like it looks beautiful, and this is the thing, right? We've spoke about Tsuro a while back. I don't like the game that much, but I love the aesthetic. It is a beautiful, like even just the out of the box High Street edition is a beautiful, beautiful game. It's like Wingspan. It's in that kind of visual, impressiveness style. So to like have this luxury edition, you've got this like type of satiny bag that's like beautifully embroidered with these dragons. The game pieces are all like properly stunning statuettes that are like cast from the looks of it, I think. It is beautiful, beautiful looking game. But I think the point that you kind of want to go on to discuss is obviously these collector's editions in games that we're seeing.
And is it a good trend?
Yeah.
Because FOMO is a thing that companies play on, and that's not a good thing, I don't think.
So I think I'm maybe going to take a slightly different stance here than you might expect. I don't think this is a bad thing. And I have no issue with collector's editions. And my reasoning behind it is they don't give you anything that the core game doesn't have. So your gaming experience is not fundamentally changed. So this is like, to kind of explain what I mean, right? This isn't like a limited edition expansion to Tsuro that's going to change the core gameplay loop or the core game mechanics and give people something different to what your retail Tsuro purchaser will get, right? They're still getting the same game fundamentally. It's just that the presentation of that game is leaps and bounds higher quality, but it's still the same core gameplay experience. And to use Games Workshop as an example, when Games Workshop released these 4 more experiences, so say like your limited box sets, let's look at like Cursed City, right? If you don't get Cursed City in that limited window, and I know that's not a collector's edition, like luxury edition, but just by way of example, you don't get it, right? Yeah. You're buggered. You cannot play that game. If you don't get this, you could still go to your high street and get Tsuro and play that game and have a great experience of that game. So I personally, and this goes for like collector's edition books as well, I have no issue with them. I don't buy them myself. I'm very... If anyone knows me personally, you will know I'm very precious with my books. Like I know my kind of stuff. I'm a bit of a neat freak, and I'm very protective of stuff like that. I think if I had a collector's edition, it would take it to the nth degree, and I don't need that in my life. So I like that they exist. I have no issue with them existing. I think if you've got the money and the interest that you want to get collector's edition, fill your boots. It's a little bit decadent, perhaps, but it's an option that's available to you if you've got the passion and the money, right? They don't take away from the game. That's my kind of take on it. So I actually don't. As long as the retail edition is available, I have no issue with things like this.
Okay, no, fair enough. I mean, the thing that I always think about is Magic the Gathering and the specifically like stuff like from the vaults and the what is it? Secret Lairs. Sorry, the Secret Lairs stuff. Because some of them are just like alternate arts of existing cards, but what Wizards have done is that some of them are limited. Yeah, we talked about The Walking Dead when that happened. It's happening again with Street Fighter and various other cards that do not have they don't have a functional reprint in a regular set. It's like you got to get this or you'll never have Rick from The Walking Dead ever again.
Yep,
and you know what I mean.
That's exactly the issue. That is exactly the line where the problem I feel comes into it, because then you are really encapsulating on not just form but mechanical advantage, right? It's a degree of pay to win in card games or board games or whatever. Which
with trading card games is like pay to win is already like a fairly bad thing.
Pay to win is fundamentally built into how card games work. Like, I always kind of wonder when Magic was made, like when it was first envisioned and crafted. I don't know, and I'll probably never know, if that was by design, right? That like the game was targeted at kind of what are now known as whales, people with a lot of money who could spend a lot of money on these things to be the best.
Yeah, so I think yes and no. Like I've read interviews with Richard Garfield, and he talks about how he came about designing it. Basically, it was born out of a desire to have a game that would last no more than half an hour, that he could play like during these D&D conventions while he's waiting for his next D&D game.
Yeah.
He wanted it to be portable, hence why it's all in cards. And he also was really into baseball cards as well. So that's where the idea of the booster pack came in. I mean, like I've said for a long time, Magic the Gathering is the original DLC, right? Or loot boxes, and they've been doing that since the 90s. I cannot. So I think to a degree it was designed with that in mind, as in, we'll make this card rare because it's a really strong card. I very much doubt they ever thought it would have got to the stage we're at now, where like cards are worth like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands.
I think
you know what I mean.
It sounds to me like it was a fortunate or an unfortunate, depending on your perspective, accident. Then really that they certainly they manipulate it now, right? Like I don't want to be overly cynical, but
no, they definitely do.
They are profiteering off this FOMO and this pay to win aspect, and they're not alone. This is not to point a finger at Wizards. There are plenty of other card game companies. There's a whole market of mobile games and PC games and computer games now that do this. I mean, Diablo Immortal at the moment, if you're not aware of the scandal of the pay to win in that, I'm not going to go into it, but go and Google it because it is disgusting.
Disgusting.
It is disgusting. It is a horrible pay to win model where you're looking at like in excess of $100,000 to maximize your character in real life money. One character, not your game, one character. It is disgusting, and that's the title of this episode. Just disgusting.
Disgusting.
And Magic do this to a degree as well, and that's where I think your collector's edition and your luxury editions become corrupted, right? They become they're not luxury items, which is what they should be. That you have, if you have the money and the passion for that, they are targeted to force people to spend an unrealistic sum of money for pieces of card, right? Or expansion packs or whatever it might be. And I always remember when I was a kid, I got into Magic when I was very young. I got into all of my hobbies that I have now, I got into when I was very, very young. I've just not really grown up past like 12. And And
you said it, not me.
it is what it is, right? And when I would take my pocket money or my money that I got from doing a paper round to the shop, and I would buy Magic cards, my mum or my dad or whoever I was with who was a responsible adult would always be like, why are you wasting your money on pieces of card? And my response would always be, because I am getting an amount of joy from these that I feel is applicable to the sum of money that I'm spending. So like at that point in time, I think like a pack of Magic cards was like £2, right? Like, it wasn't much. I think you could even get some for like £1.50. And that was great, right? And I loved that. I couldn't justify to myself the amount of expenditure that you are ultimately spending on one card or 5 cards in these, these secret layer sets and things like that. Like how I don't know the exact amount, and you can maybe clarify for me like how much a card is worth in those.
So typically, like they sell each secret layer for something like between £30 and £50.
Okay, so it's like a tenner a cardish.
Yeah, you could get like it varies depending on what they've put in, but like you get some sets only have 3, some sets will have 10 cards. That sort of.
So
stuff.
if you're rocking like, let's say £7 to £10 a card, right? That's a lot of money for one piece of card. And I know they go for a lot more than that. Like when
I've spent more than that on individual cards,
and I judge you for that on a daily basis, right? But like, if you are getting that amount of joy from that single card, so if you think that card is worth, let's say, an hour's wage, if that's how much you get paid an hour, or 30 minutes, or whatever it is, or however you balance your purchase to work ratio, fine. But are you really getting that pleasure from it, or is it just that you feel that you're being manipulated into getting that? Because if you don't, then you won't have it, and you will be seen as lesser. I'm not speaking to you specifically, Josh.
No, I know.
I'm talking in general terms here. This isn't Josh Day. This is just a general.
Every day is Josh Day in your world.
Let's not say that.
Shall we end the episode on that note?
No. Make up for another topic if you have to.
No, the only thing I will say is I'm cool on Magic the Gathering at the moment.
Yeah.
It's not something that's piquing my hobby time at the moment. I actually with me getting Red, I currently don't have an awful lot of hobby time.
Yeah.
If I'm truth be told, that will change as he's getting more settled in and it becomes routine rather than effort. But he's kind of my focus at the moment. So.
You big softy.
Yeah.
No, I get that, and I think that's fair. Like I kind of cooled on Magic after you moved away, to be honest, because you were the person that I kind of played with the most, and even that wasn't that much. But I get where you're coming from. I don't know. Magic has done some really interesting things recently. They did the D&D set, which was really cool.
Yeah.
They did Strixhaven, which was really popular. They had like the Kamigawa neon stuff, which I didn't get into, but was nice to look at. And I appreciate them being creative. I just don't really get into the abusive sort of form or purchase. And this is the same for GW as well. I just don't go in for that, and I kind of wish, and we've said this before, stop doing it. Like, just stop
Please.
it. Just put out good products, and people will buy them. That is your key. If your product is good and it's interesting and you market it correctly, and I appreciate that's not easy to do on any of those fronts, but if you do that, people will buy it, and you will have a better relationship with your consumer. And I appreciate that Wizards of the Coast and Games Workshop are probably not listening to this going, tell us, Tom, how do we run our business? But they really should, because like it is, and it's not just them, like Blizzard and EA and all these computer game companies as well. Like, put your customer first, like, and put out a good product before you think about how much money it's going to make you, and tell your shareholders to shut up as well, and I'd probably go out of business for doing that.
Yeah. Right, now on that note,
you can
draw
end
this
it.
episode to a close. So, guys, as always, thank you very much for listening, and until next time, take care.
Bye!
Bye!